Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. Okay, so we're in here for part 2 of this flat sew-in. Let's go. So I personally like to deal with my leave out before I do the sew-in. That way I'm not having to clip that hair up and figure out, what's what. So I like to go ahead and do a little silk press on that leave out first, and then we'll start the install. Okay, so now she's ready for her install. So how I'm going to start this off is through the weft on the very end. I'm going to reinforce it 2 times on that very end, and then I'll start sewing. I like to go under with my needle to create a loop. I see some stylists, they just go in with the needle and then out. But you really want to create a loop for your track, because if you just go in and out, then if one of those pieces of thread get melted or cut by accident, then that whole track will come out. And depending on how long that thread was, several of the tracks will come out. I actually had that happen to me. I was assisting a young lady. She had a client and she was overbooked. And so, I don't care how long I've been doing hair, I'm going to jump in and help. So I was helping her out, and I ended up having to basically re-sew this entire head of hair because she just put the thread straight in without creating that loop to actually lock it in. So you want to lock your tracks in like you see me doing here. So right now I'm just going side to side with my track. And if you see, I'm kind of softening that track up. This hair she got was just beauty supply store hair. And so the weft was a little thicker. And if I know that I'm not going to cut that weft, which I usually don't do on a sew-in, I like to warm that track up by flat ironing it, making it flat as possible, and then folding it over like you see me doing here. So I've slowed it all the way down so you can see I'm holding that thread up and out of the way so that I'll create my own little loop, and then I'll make sure that the thread goes through that loop. There's a hole. You see? I've created my own little circle, and I'm making sure the thread goes through the circle just like that. Boom. And you can see how tight it is, and all of the thread actually lines up across the top of the track, instead of if you're doing it wrong, because it'll be slanted. Each one that you stitch will just be at a slant going down. That's how you know you're doing it wrong. When that thread is up top, then you know you got money right there. So I typically do not like to cut tracks, but I do not sacrifice the hairstyle for the purpose of keeping the track in one whole piece. I will cut a track, okay? But I try to go as long as possible, because I've had clients bring me hair that they want me to reuse that have been cut up in all these little tiny different pieces and sizes. And I'm like, how in the world am I supposed to figure out what goes where? So I do like to keep it as long as possible, for as long as possible, and then I'll cut. So I had a dear friend who had a miscarriage, and I made this cup for her because I got a Cricut, and I was like, oh, I can make stuff. So I made that cup for her, and it said, I still believe, and it had 2 hearts on it. So why am I drinking from the cup? Because before I could send out her care package, I had to move, and the cup got damaged. And so, of course, I don't believe in sending anybody anything like damaged like that. So I kept it for myself, and I'm telling you, it has been a blessing to me. I just want to encourage anybody that has gone through any type of loss or, have been struggling in your faith. Our belief is worth something. So I just want to encourage you, don't stop believing in God. Don't stop believing. I went through a phase in my life some years ago where, I felt like God should have picked someone else. Whatever it was that he was calling me to do, I said, Lord, you need to get somebody else, find somebody else to do it. And why did you pick me? Because I'm so flawed and I just didn't have anything together. And I just felt, I just felt unworthy. And so within that, and I'm telling you guys, I was younger, but not that young, but I was younger. I think I was in my 20s, late 20s, maybe early 30s. And I had this conversation with God, and I just let him know, hey, I'm just going to step away from serving you because I'm no good. I'm not doing good. I'm struggling every day. Like, and of course, those types of conversations come with comparison. And I was comparing myself to another young lady who was seemingly on fire for God, and she had it all together, and she was just perfect wife and mother, and she was just doing so well. And I just say, I'm just done. I'm done trying to prove myself and be this person that I'm not. I'm not perfect. I don't have it all together. And I'm just done, God. So I went for about 2 weeks, I think almost 2 weeks, not having conversation with God, waking up, going about my day like he didn't exist. And it wasn't with malice in my heart. It was sadness. I was really sad, but I felt like this was the best thing for everybody. Right. Until one day I was at the salon, and I remember I was doing a client's hair, and I heard the Holy Spirit say, don't say this, say this instead. And I said, okay. And so I was like, yeah, girl. And so I ministered to this lady. And as I was ministering to her, I realized, I said, he spoke to me. Like, he's not done with me. I was done with him, but he wasn't done with me. Holy Spirit was still inside of me, helping me, loving on me, teaching me, growing me. Oh my God. And so as I had that experience with God, I said, I've been in such a dark place for these last 2 weeks. Sadness and sorrow has been my companion when God had never left me. I left him, and I thought I left him, but I really didn't. So I just wanted to say I'm over here like tearing up because I remember that time, and I remember that was the last time that I ever walked away from God. And since then, my father died. My husband at that time, he died. I have a new husband now, but I became a widow, and I was a widow for 9 years, and all of these things that happened, but I never went back to that place of, well, forget you, God, because you know why? My goodness, he is, y'all, he's incredible. He's an awesome God. Like, really, it's not just to say, I serve him, but there's a actual physical difference in my life because I love him and I know him and he loves and knows me. Man, y'all, you can't pay for this. You can't buy it with money. So I just want to encourage somebody today. I know I talked through most of this little video, but you can pretty much see what I'm doing. But I want to encourage somebody that feels like giving up, that feels like, okay, I'm just going to step away from God because he doesn't care. He doesn't love me, or he's not going to accept me. No, he loves you. And here's the thing. As we yield continually to his growing, he's growing us. We just got to keep saying yes. Just keep showing up. Don't compare yourself to anybody else. That's why social media can be such a trap. Get off of there. Just look at what he's doing in your life. Just be in your lane. Look at what he's doing in you, and continue to grow at your pace and your speed. Man, he's doing great things. He's doing great things. So God bless you, whoever you are that might be struggling today. Don't walk away from the Lord. He loves you. He's got you. He's here. I still believe. I hope you still believe too. All right, back to this hair. So we are at the end just about of our sew-in. We only have a few more inches left. And man, when I get to this part of the sew-in, I get super excited because I know we're getting close to the fun part, which for me is the cutting and styling. So we've made it to our last and final track, and I'm going to actually split the track some just to make that very last track as thin as possible. All right, so you're going to start going through the weft on the very tip like we've done through the whole thing, because you want those ends reinforced to make sure that none of that lifts, because if those ends are secure, that middle is not going anywhere. So I've done the ends, and now the little loop that you saw me doing on the ends when I would finish a track, I'm going to do that on this last track. I'm going to do that throughout the entire track. Why? Because it makes it, I mean, you talking about flat, I'm talking about flat, okay? Super flat. So I'm going to go in halfway with my needle, doop, doop, pull it through. There's my knot. I'm going to go in halfway. I'm going to do 2 swoops, 2 swirls, 1, 2, pull it through. Boom. It is going to make for a super flat top. I'm telling you, you're gonna love it. Also, I learned this from my girl when I went to LA and got my sew-in done. I bought this thread. It's a different kind of thread than I use throughout the entire sew-in. This thread is a wax coated nylon thread, and it is super thin, very nice. Now, she did my whole sew-in with this, but I found it to be a little bit cumbersome to work with. So, and I like to go quick on my sew-ins. So I used the regular cotton thread, the thread that I normally use on the whole head. But when I got to that last track where I knew I was wanting it to be, I mean, ultra flat, I went and switched to this thread. And this thread was like $15 per spool. So, you know, I'm not trying to use it all, so I don't have to fly back to LA to get more. Okay, so I just use it on this last track. And as you can see, I mean, this thing is, when I say flat, I'm talking about flat, flat. So as we finish this sew-in up, I'm just going to go to the very tippy tip, doing the same method until everything is closed out. And this is our final result. Look at that. Stitching tight, close, secure, and not tight where her head is hurting. After I do a light silk press on her leave out, I'm going to prepare her for her cut. Now this cut is old school, but I found lately I've been liking this for my bobs, especially my clients who want that angled bob where it's shorter in the back, longer in the front. And so I've been doing this ponytail bob method, and I have been loving it. I still go in and cut layers and do all that fun stuff, even sometimes with a razor, but it gives me that hard line that these clients have been looking for, and it makes my job a whole lot easier. And there we have it. The line has been created. So now I can go in with my layers and begin to clean everything up, to, begin to thin it out, and to make it exactly the cut I want it to be. But ultimately, it helps me to get that baseline that I wanted, that nice angled bob. So if you haven't tried this before, try it on yourself or with one of your clients if you're a hairstylist. Let me know what you think. So I'm going in here, I'm going to spritz her little edges and lay them down with a soft brush, hit them with the blow dryer so that they don't move, and give her a little sideburn. You know, everybody need a little sideburn in their life. You know what I'm saying? So I went in, I did some really loose curls throughout. And it's funny because her husband wasn't really paying attention before. And then he noticed the cut and he was like, what is going on? So he said, you cut a lot. And I said, well, sir, good thing this is not her real hair. So you have nothing to worry about. Okay, so she's showing out a little bit. She's showing out just a little bit, you know. That's all right. That's all right, Miss Dion. We see you, girl. We see you. Yes, throw the hair. Throw it. Thank you guys so much for watching. This is part 2. And if you want to catch part 1, I'll leave a link to that in the description box. Okay, take care, and I'll see you guys next video. Bye.